Hello and welcome to the Freeman once again, or rather the seafront down here at North Deal. Now out there, about 4.5 miles off, are the Goodwin Sands, low-lying sandbanks that have claimed thousands of ships and tens of thousands of lives over the years. But not all shipwrecks are out to sea. 200 yards off the beach here, you may just be able to see two little black dots. Those two buoys lie above the wreck of the SS Africa. The Africa was owned by the Bennett Steamship Company, but was chartered by the War Office during the First World War. She ran backwards and forwards between France and England carrying supplies, including railway carriages, often carrying wounded back from the front. However, in September of 1915, the Africa fell victim to a new weapon of war, the mine-laying submarine. The mine was laid by UC-6, sister ship to the UC-5 pictured here. In the initial explosion, 2 men were tragically killed, and in an attempt to save the ship, she was towed towards the shallow waters of Sandwich Bay, but she never made it that far, and sank in the shallow water off the North Deal lifeboat station. She was declared a total loss, and lay there until the end of the First World War, where eventually, because of her proximity to the lifeboat station, she was destroyed as a navigation hazard. What was left of the ship, including a railway carriage, lies there to this day. Now, as you'd expect from a ship that's laid on the seabed in the shallow waters off the coast of Kent for over 100 years, there's not a lot left. It's more of an artificial reef, and it's been dived hundreds and hundreds of times before, but it's always worth going back for another look. You never know what you're going to find, and there's always some interesting wildlife to be seen. Now, the two objects we've got in the pub, the first and the best is this object here. Now, this is actually off the railway carriage, and it was a light fitting, so it would have hung from the ceiling with a glass bulb, 2 light bulbs, and when I recovered it, there was a rather rusty white enamelled dish at the top to reflect the light down. Now, unusually for the objects off the railway carriage, this is not marked GWR Swindon. It's actually marked J.W. Stone & Co. Now, that was a Victorian engineering company that didn't fold until the late 70s, early 80s. The other item we have is rather less ornate, and it's just a ventilator grill. It would have come out of one of the cabins. It was found down the side of the wreck, actually jammed up against the hull. They dispersed the wreck using explosives, and they probably dragged it as well. So there's a lot of stuff that's been thrown out. So I was quite fortunate to find that as well. And there was one third unexpected find that relates to the last video that we looked at, which I'll show you now. If you did watch the last video, we looked at these little fellas here. Now, these are the bearded men from the Bellarmine jugs. This is probably 1600, 1750 sort of date. Now, the unexpected find I'm talking about from the Africa is this rather lovely little pot here. Now, these have been described to me as lamp oil jugs, and unfortunately they haven't got the little bearded man, but they are from the same period. So this probably dates from about 1650, and it was laying in shingle, pretty much covered, and the only reason I picked it up was I felt it was too round to be natural. Stuck it in my bag, and it wasn't until I got back to the beach that I realised that I'd found a really rather lovely piece of salt glazed pottery, which is complete, unusually. Another interesting aspect of the wreck of the Africa concerns the shipping company flag painted here on the funnel. For many years, the Bennett line was in dispute with the authorities over the usage of the Red Cross on a white background, as it was a protected symbol of the International Red Cross. However, all this became academic when, in 1975, the Bennett line was absorbed into the Peninsula and Oriental Steam Navigation Company, better known as P&O. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little piece of nautical history. Video number 6 is going to cover a little bit of natural history and the largest object in the pub, which, unsurprisingly, comes from a whale.